Hi and welcome to another Silverback Runner video. My glasses look like I've got sunglasses on. I can tell you they're not. They're completely clear. It's weird. Anyway, today's video is going to be about recovery runs. Now, this is something I can't say I've always been really very positive about. Always been a big advocate of recovery. I've done videos on recovery. And it's a massive part of what I do. And I think a massive part of any older runners running should be recovery. But I've not always really clicked with the idea of recovery runs until the last couple of years and started to really understand them as a runner. And I think it's really helped me understand them when I started coaching runners and how they fitted into a coaching plan. So I'm going to share with you first of all, what are recovery runs? What do recovery runs do? And how you should do a recovery run on this video. So let's crack on. What are recovery runs? So basically, they are low intensity runs after you've done a high intensity workout, so a harder run. So you would do it within about a 24-hour period. So that's in a nutshell what they are. So what do recovery runs actually do? Well, they increase blood circulation. So they move blood around your body. That means they flush out waste products, waste parts. So things like lactic acid. Now, this is where I think it differs fundamentally from just a rest day. So that's what I used to think. I think I could take a rest day versus a recovery run. But sitting up with your legs up watching Netflix doesn't having that flush out process. A lot of professional athletes will have things like massage, get the lymphatic system moving, similar sort of thing. And success leaves clues, and nearly all pro runners will do recovery runs. And it's this leg turner flushing out the system. So that's where I started to get curious. It's like, it's not always just about total rest, it's about getting rid of these kind of waste products as well. They also help you build endurance because a rest day is a day resting, whereas if, say, over a 6-month running, you're doing one extra run a week because it's a recovery run at low intensity, that can still add to time on your feet, even though it's low intensity. So it can really build up that endurance. Also, you're getting used to running fatigued because you're coming off a hard run. So if you're doing endurance events, you've got to get used to running fatigue. So you're going to be running, at an easy pace, but you're going to be fatigued. So yet again, that adds to the whole thing. Of course, you end up with improved running recovery. And another one that I've read about, and I can see, I've not done so much myself, but the logic is worth. I've read about it improving running form. Now, I don't think doing recovery runs in themselves improve running form, but I think what it could do would be that you've got an opportunity to be more mindful of how you are running because you're not in a kind of hard zone. You are running more kind of easily, and you can perhaps make adjustments or have a feel for the type of way that you're running. For me, that's not a major reason for doing it, but I thought I would share it. So when should you do a recovery run? As I say, 24 hours post a hard run. Also, yet again, not I think for every runner, but it's worth sharing, is you can double up with recovery runs. So what I mean by that is I sometimes have done like a hard run in the morning, or a harder run in the morning, and a recovery run in the evening. Now, there's not something I do all the time, and it's not something I put in my training plans very often with my runners, but it just shows you how it could be used. But predominantly, as I say, it's done 24 hours after a hard run. So how should you perform a recovery run? You've got to keep it to low intensity. Now, how do you define low intensity? Where you could use it as your rate of perceived exertion. So out of 10, it would be about a 3. If you're using heart rate zones, a lot of people would say zone 2. I'm not so a favour of some of the heart rate stuff, and I'm not all a massive fan on a recovery run because you could still be pushing too hard. I would prefer something like the conversation test. So if me and you were running out now and we're doing an easy run, I could tell you all what I'm telling you now at this pace. Can you run a recovery run too slow? I guess you could, but I think the risks are higher of running it too fast. If you use a heart rate monitor, make sure it is in that real lower zone, that you're not pushing. Conversation test, and if it is an exertion, it is very low. You should finish that not feeling sweaty or making it really hard. Another factor would be the duration of the run. Now, if you read up on recovery runs, you'll see a lot of differential between the duration, and I think a lot of that to do is, one, depending on the discipline that you're running. So if you're training for a 10k or a 5k, you're probably not going to be at the top end of duration for recovery runs, and it will also depend where you are in your training cycle and what your fitness is like, because you don't want to do a recovery run and not be recovered. So if the longest you've ever run is 45 minutes, then you don't really want to do a recovery run that's 45. So you've got to apply some logic. As broad kind of benchmarks, I would say anything from 20 to 45 minutes, depending on the factors I've just mentioned. I've often ran recovery runs in the 40 minute zone of time. But then again, I'm used to running 2-3 hours. Running for 40 minutes really easily to the point where I could have this conversation is something that can be done, and I do feel refreshed at the end. If I was finishing it thinking, crikey, I need to sit down, then you need to shorten it. So you could be 20 minutes, it could be 30 minutes, depending on your disciplines and yourself. Also, just to finish, terrain. No good doing a recovery run if there's a whopping great big hill. Make sure that the terrain is easy for you, because I have seen this. Oh yeah, I did my recovery run, but it had a big hill in it. Not much of a recovery run then, is it? Even if the hill's really downhill, you're still pushing. You got to make sure that it is purely recovery. You are turning the body over, getting rid of those toxins, just out there, really easy. And even if it means that for your level of fitness, there's a few walk runs in there, then do that, because the goal is to make it really easy. The goal is to clear out those toxins, get used to running fatigued if you're endurance based, and build that endurance up. So it's not something that you should finish feeling absolutely on your backside about. So that's recovery runs, and I just wanted to share that because it's something that I'm falling back in love with, and I think could really work well for your training. And if you don't have recovery runs in your training, and perhaps you're thinking of adding in another run, and you've got, say, 1 or 2 speed sessions, the recovery run might be a great thing to add in. It's a low intensity run. It will benefit the run that comes next because you will feel a lot more recovered, obviously. And sometimes, particularly if you've got a lot of lactic acid build-up, I was going to say it can be better than a rest day. I'm going to say it's different. So each runner would have to find out what worked for them. But I have had situations where I've gone out for a recovery run, and I think my body has felt better than if I'd have just not done any run at all. So I think it is worth considering and putting perhaps into your schedule, particularly if you do have those harder runs. Hope this has helped. As always, if you've liked the video, please give it a And if you want to see more of my videos, please subscribe. It helps my fledgling small channel. Anyway, my name's Lee Boniface from Silverback Runner, and hope you have a great rest of the week. Bye for now.